Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Since recently I am preparing for a very important tournament and I need to dedicate all of my time to chess training, I won't be following the footsteps, or I won't be recording videos about these recent top chess events. But so I'm going to pre-record this series, and this series I'm going to be covering the games and the positions that I study at chess school. These games and positions, they're all being chosen by my coach, and then my coach will teach these things to us. And right now I'm going to share what I've learned at chess school with you guys. And I also find it it's a really great way for me to review the things that I have learned as well. Alright, so today we'll be taking a look at this game. This game, this game, first of all, was played in 2011, the year that I was born. And it's actually about 13 years ago, a pretty old game, but both sides are really strong players, and I think you guys might have heard about heard their names before. White is Leinier Dominguez Perez, and black is Quang Liem, two top grandmasters, and this game was played between them. White is Dominguez and black is Quang Liem. This game, I'm not sure which tournament that they played in. But this was actually a really good game that can teach us a lot of things. Alright, so let's jump in. White is Dominguez and black is Quang Liem. Dominguez started with e4, the king's pawn opening, e6, the French defense. And actually, the reason that my coach is teaching us, or giving this game to us, to representing this game to us and to analyze, is because that recently, well, not recently, but during a period of time, our coach is teaching us, acknowledging us about the French defense, especially the line that I'm going to show you guys right now. d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, e5, knight fd7, and f4. c5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop e3. And my coach said that this position was the position that where even if you don't play the French defense, or you don't play the king's pawn opening, for example, as white, you still this is the position that you still have to know about, because this is just a really common position. And even if you don't play this variation, or you don't play anything that is related to this position, but you still have to know about it, which means that you have to have a wide knowledge about everything, even if it's not related to your repertoire. And after bishop e3, and here Quang Liem played bishop e7, still in the book moves, queen d2, short castle, and bishop e2. Actually, here the reason also worth noting is that here in the French defense, in general, you going long castle is of course possible, but if you go long castle, you always have to be careful about black's c4 idea, because once black goes c4, then there are b5 ideas, and the attack on the queen side will be very fast for black, and white really needs to be careful about that. Which means that if you want to go long castle, you have to first of all take on c5, and then after, let's say, black takes with knight c5, for example, then you can go long castle, because there are no c4, b5 attacking ideas, which means that black won't be able to start or launch an attack that quickly. This is actually just a rule in general that you have to remember, and that is why in the game, Dominguez here didn't take on c5 and didn't went long castle, but instead just played bishop e2, and after a6, you can see that black is now preparing for b5, and even if white is not going to castle one side, black is still going to attack on the queen side, because again, in general, in the French defense, black will always attack on the queen side, and white will always attack on the king side. But also sometimes you have to know is that in endgames, when you're trading a lot of pieces in the French defense and you turn into an endgame, sometimes black can switch sides and go and start attacking on the king side, because the less pieces you have on the board, which means that the position will be less complicated, and black will always have this f6 like pawn breakthrough on the king side, and it's even more effective if it is played in an endgame. And white always needs to be careful about that. In the game, Dominguez here played short castle, and after b5, here he played a3. Queen c7. So finally, these two players, they are getting out of the opening, like the book moves, and now starting to compete against each other with pure calculation. Because before all of these moves, they are just book moves and you just have to remember them. But after Queen c7, here both sides are now out of their preparation and needs to play on their own without any like memories, opening memories. Here, white played d takes c5, which is like not the best move. The best move here is actually to go knight d1. Actually, this is the move that my coach that my coach liked. This move is actually one of the best moves here. Also, knight a2 is another move that is playable here, but I think also in my own opinion, I think knight d1 is also better because you're having like knight f2 ideas later on, and it will be like it just feels that the knight on d1 or like the knight on f2 later on is much better than the knight on a2. But of course, the reason that the knight can also go to a2 is because later on there are like b4 ideas, or the knight is also like controlling preventing black from pushing b4. That is the point. But instead in the game, Dominguez here took on c5, which is also okay, and after bishop takes c5, you can also take with the knight here. Taking with the knight, and probably white will go for something like knight d4, and after, for example, like for black doesn't really want to take on d4 because after takes, bishop takes, and let's say if black goes knight e4, just exchange everything. White can here go queen e3, and after knight takes, here, white can actually take with the pawn with b takes c3, and you can see that suddenly this d4 bishop is really strong. It is being defended by the pawn and the queen at the same time also defending the pawn, and there's just no immediate way for black to trade the bishop off or attack it. Even though black also has a dark square bishop, but it will take a lot of moves for it to offer a trade of bishops, and that will take a lot of time. And so if white reached this position, then this will actually be really good for white. In the game, however, Quang Liem took with the bishop instead, which is slightly better than the knight takes. Bishop takes, knight takes, and again, Dominguez just jumped to not knight d4 immediately, but first of all, he played rook a d1. Here, the main difference is that probably the reason that he didn't go knight d4 is because after knight d4, it's not a bishop, it's a knight instead, which means that it controls less diagonals. It gains less control of these dark squares. That's what I'm trying to say. And here black can actually go queen b6. You can imagine that if this were like a bishop instead, then the bishop will be like looking directly at the queen right now, but unfortunately it's a knight, and it is now being indirectly pinned by the queen, and it's actually really annoying. And that is why you do not go knight e4 first immediately, because it doesn't really do much. And that's why you go rook a d1, which was played in the game, and it's actually a pretty good move. Bishop b7, developing the bishop, and queen e3. Queen e3 attacking the c5 knight. Now, again, trying to maneuver the pieces, because really right now, because the dark square bishops are traded off the board, and the position is kind of closed. Black can basically cannot do anything on the queen side. Maybe black will go f6 in the future, and white also doesn't have anything on the king side yet. f5 is not playable right now because the e5 pawn is a little bit weak, and so both sides just need to play slow moves and see what will happen. Knight d7 was played in the game. Also, a slightly better option would be to go queen b6, the same idea again. And after, for example, white goes, rook f1, let's say, here black can go rook a c8, and probably in the future offer a trade of queens with knight a4 or knight d7. In the game, queen e3 and knight d7 was played instead. Also, the idea is to go queen b6 to offer a trade of queens. Because, if the queens are traded off, as I've said before, when you're going to an endgame for black in the French defense, it's actually a good thing, because now you'll realize that the f6 move is a much more effective move. It can open up more files and create some weaknesses, like create weaknesses on the e5 square, and it should be good for black. In the game, bishop d3 was played and queen b6, offering a trade of queens. And here white took, knight takes, and we enter a new stage of this game. In this stage, where both sides has the queens off the board and are into the endgame part. Now, in the endgame part, well, actually, this is a very complicated endgame because there's still many pieces on the board. But basically, you have to realize is that what are both sides' ideas or plans? White's plan is basically just to go f5 probably in the future, or just knight e4, knight e2, knight d4 to gain control of the d4 square at least. And black's idea is very simple, just to go f6. In the game, both sides followed these plans. In the game, knight e2 was played by white and rook a c8, gaining some control of the c file. b3. Actually, here, some of you guys might be wondering, why not go knight c4? Knight c4 looks like a really good move. But the main problem is that after knight c4, bishop takes c4, white can actually just trade the bishop for the knight. And after, let's say, b takes c4, of course, you don't want to take with the d pawn, because you'll just allow white's rook to get into the position. Let's say just take with the b pawn, and after, let's say, knight d4, and trade everything off. It's a knight versus bishop endgame, and it's clear that the knight is much better than the bishop, and there are f5 ideas. And black can also find it really hard to push f6 because the e6 pawn is under attack. Of course, knight c4 is playable, but not good for black. In the game, rook a c8 is played, and it's actually a pretty good move. b3 was played. Now, b3, the idea for this move is actually to prevent knight a4 ideas. Also, you might ask, why not go knight a4 here? But if you go knight a4, now the main problem is that you go b3, knight c5, and after knight d4, this really doesn't do anything. I mean, you still have to get the rook to the c file, and you have to remember that when you know in a position that you have to play this move no matter what, or like this is a move that you must be played, always you play this move first before playing other moves that are not 100% necessary. Which, what I'm trying to say is that you play these moves which are necessary or really needed in this position, and then you play the other moves that are less needed. In the game, knight e2 was played and rook a c8. This, the rook's gaining control of the c file, either rook moving to the c file is necessary, and so you just play this move first. And after b3, f6, so you can see that black is actually starting to go for his idea with f6 to open up the center and create weaknesses on the e5 square. Knight d4. But also the negative side of f6 is that it also created a weakness in his territory, in black's territory, which is the e6 pawn. And that is what white will be going for. Takes, trading off a pair of knights. And actually, the reason that this position white is slightly better is because of the bishops. It's the same colored, same squared colored bishop endgame. Well, I mean, both sides do have knights and rooks on the board, but rooks are kind of the same, right? Rooks are kind of the same. Knights, I guess the reason that white is better is because the knight and the bishop are slightly more active. Well, actually much more active than black's knight and bishop. In order to improve or maintain this advantage, white needs to to get the greatest use of these two pieces. After f takes c5, which was played in the game, black decided to open up the f file. And well, actually it is the only choice because other moves like rook c8 defending the e6 pawn are just way too passive ideas. And after f takes c5, f takes e5, rook f1, and here, this is the ideal moment. This is actually the first mistake played that had happened in this whole game by black. And you guys can actually pause this video. Basically, you just have two options here. And actually, during our class, our coach also asked us the same question. Here, you basically just have two options. Either just to defend the pawn, e6 pawn with rook e8. That is the only way to defend the pawn. Or you go knight d7 to attack your opponent's pawn. You can actually pause this video and think whether to go rook e8 to defend your pawn, or go knight d7 to attack your opponent's pawn. But like either move needs a lot, like both of these moves needs a lot of calculation. You guys can actually think about this. So I hope you guys have the correct answer. In the game, rook e8 was played, but unfortunately it is a mistake. It's a mistake, and I think black just overlooked or like didn't see white's idea with bishop e2, bishop g4 to attack the e6 pawn. But what here black actually can do is to go knight d7. Knight d7, at least here black can still like be probably like try to equalize the position. White is still better, but black can still hold the position. If knight e6 was played, you can actually, instead of going knight e5, here the move that is actually a little bit hard to calculate is this g6 move. G6 and this e5 pawn is just dead. You can take it any times. G6, the main move, like G6, this main purpose of this move is to prevent bishop f5. And after G6, I think this game will just end in a draw, actually, because white will definitely lose this e5 pawn, and after losing the e5 pawn, I think black will have little problem to defend the position. Of course, white can still like try to win, but if black played all the correct moves, it will end in a draw, of course. But probably I think black didn't saw this g6 move and instead played rook e8, just going for the really solid way, but like didn't saw white's idea with bishop e2, knight d7, and bishop g4. And it's just clear that black is just one move late, because you cannot take right now. If you take, there's bishop e6, and if you go king h8, there's rook f5. You see the move, like the g6 move is now really necessary because it defends. Also, like in this position, here g6, it doesn't only prevent bishop f5, but also prevents rook f5, which are both two really strong moves by white and worth of defending. Knight d7, bishop g4, and as I've said again, knight takes e5, there's bishop takes e6, king h8, and rook f5. Now knight basically has to go back to c6, but there's just rook takes d5, and white should be winning with 2 pawns up. Well, actually just 1 pawn up, but it's same colored bishop endgame, and it should be winning after, like, the main problem is that after rook d4, black cannot take on e6 because there's mate, and you can see that black has back rank problems. And also this g6 move is also opening up a window for black's king to run away if there's some like back rank problems. Well, now there's none back rank problems. In the game, knight f8 was played. You can see that the rook e8 is now like this move is starting the disaster. Now we can see that black's pieces are all really passive. They can just only defend, and white now what white needs to do is just get the pieces to the best places and win this game. It's not that easy to win. Actually, you guys can actually pause this video again and think. Evaluate this position. Of course, white is better, but you can find an idea for white. What to play here? Like, what is your idea? You can form an idea, a winning plan, and, yeah. So I hope you guys find this idea with rook f3, rook c3. During the class, one of my classmates said that she wanted to play bishop f3 and then go for c4, but why not go bishop f3 immediately here? Like, if you want to have, well, of course, right now you cannot go bishop f3, but why then go for this bishop e2, bishop g4 idea? So I think, she has already gone, you have already gone bishop g4, and then you are just going back to bishop f3. That is just, wasting a move. I mean, bishop f3 is okay, of course, but it's just giving away half of the advantage that white has. Bishop f3 is somehow more like a tactical thought. You're going c4, which is more tactical. But rook f3 is a more strategical move, a more positional move, but it's much better than bishop f3. Rook f3 in the game rook e7, black is just waiting, and after g3, bishop c8, rook c3, bishop b7, black is now just starting to wait. Rook f3, white is also doing the same. And after waiting for a few moves, well, actually, you should know that both sides, they want to reach the second time control. This is actually a really like high-level tournament as well, and it's like both sides, they want to reach second time control. And of course, at this stage, at this point of the game, they probably don't have enough time, and they really want to reach move 40. Because if you got to move 40, then you can get an extra 30 minutes. And of course, both sides wanted to get to that point, and they're playing some moves like to get to that point faster. And you can see that white is now bringing the king over. White's idea is actually to go probably get the rook to f3 and then go like king c3, king b4, king a5. Once the king gets to a5, it will be like very easily winning because like king b6 ideas are following, and there's no way for black to stop this idea. But now, here black made a second mistake, and it's actually really funny because it's just the same move as the first mistake. And if you guys still remember, the first mistake played in the game was rook e8, and here it's again this move, rook e8. This is like an inaccuracy, it's counted as a dubious move here by chess.com, but I think it's a mistake because if black would have played something like rook f7 to defend white from going rook f3, then it should still like probably be able to hold a draw, like to get bigger drawing chances. But once black goes rook e8, giving white the chance to go rook f3, it's actually just simply losing because like here black cannot go rook e7 anymore because the knight is under attack, and it's impossible to stop rook f7. And the only move here is to go king e7, but then the king is getting one move further away from the queen side, which is the real action place. And here white is just going to go up with the king, rook e8, rook e3, bishop c8, king b4, a5. Here, reaching this point, this is move 38, 2 moves away from reaching second time control. And yeah, I want you guys to pause this video and think. Here you basically have 3 options: king b5, king c5, and king c3. Which move will you go for? Well, in the game, I'm not going to tell you guys what was played in the game, but first of all, I'm going to show you guys this king b5 line. Well, actually, king c5 is pretty similar to king b5. And let's just take a look at what happens after king b5. Actually, this move is just winning, but it needs a ton of calculation. Like, of course, bishop a6, you're not afraid of this because you can just go king c6. And after, for example, like knight d7, black is trying to create some mating ideas, but there's just knight e6. Here, but the move that you do have to worry about a little bit is this a4 move. And after b takes a4, bishop d7 check, knight c6, takes. This is actually also like, wait a second. Oh yeah, here, takes, and after rook a4, well actually here rook a4 is not the best move, but here black can actually go knight d7 to hold the draw. So it's actually really tricky, this a4 move, which means that taking on a4 is not good. Here, taking on a4 is not good. It's actually a draw if you take on a4. And here the best move is actually to go knight c6 or b4. But both of these moves need a lot of calculation. And after knight c6, check king f7 or king, I don't know. Let's say king f7, for example. Here I can just go b4. There are no mating ideas here. Well, actually, black is threatening to go bishop a6, but you just need to go knight d8 check first, knight e7, and just, you cannot go knight d8 because you have to go back, but just go knight a5 here, actually. And if bishop a6 was played, well, actually, you can go king c6 now. Oh, this is a blunder, sorry, guys. But, the main problem... Oh, you can actually take this pawn on a4. Yeah, you can take this pawn. I didn't see that actually. You can take on a4. Oh, king c6. Here is a blunder because there's now well actually it's not an easy move to see, but there's actually king e7, which is a really good move. Threatening actually mate with rook c8 actually on the next move, and it's actually unstoppable. Alright, let's go back here. But actually the easiest way, not the best way, but the easiest way to win is by going king b4. And there's just no mating ideas. You just get the king back to safety and you're up a pawn and you should be winning. But in the game, guess what Dominguez played? Well, of course, desperately desperately wanting to reach the second time control here, he played king c3, missing the opportunity. And actually, I mean, he is still better, of course, but then just giving like most of his advantage away. Now after king c3, it's not that easy for white to win actually, but the rest of the game was actually just really normal. So let's just see what happened. I'm gonna play these moves pretty fast. A takes, bishop d3, bishop e8, rook e8, rook e1, knight d7, g4, a slight mistake, but you can actually just take on h7 here. g6, even though like this bishop might seem like it's getting trapped, but it's not, because you just go bishop g8, attack the pawn, and bishop f7, you can just take everything, basically. And if black here goes knight c5, black does not want to trade the bishops, then you just go something like king e3 first to like prevent knight e4, like to make knight e4 useless, and then it should be fine. Bishop d7, bishop h7, attack the g6 pawn, even though it might be hard for you to get the bishop out, but still, like, it's winning. Like, black cannot like trap it, and your bishop cannot get out, but at least like at some point, black will need to try to get the game closer, but then you can go h5. But instead, the game g4 was played. Actually, already in this position, it is really close to a draw. If black had played the most accurate moves, this should be a very easy draw. But unfortunately, after h6, and g5 takes 6 here, and bishop b5 here, I want you guys to pause this video and think. I'm going to give you two options, knight c5 and knight f8. Which one do you choose? In the game, Dominguez played knight c5, and guess what this move is? This is a mistake, and this is actually the losing move, because after knight c5, the main problem is that after trading the bishops off, well, I'm not going to show you guys what happened in the game yet. First of all, let's see what happens after knight f8. The main big difference is that after takes, king takes, knight now defends the g6 square as well as the h7 square, making it very hard for white's rook to get into the position. And if white were to swing the rook to the queen side to get in with the a file, there's just rook b7. Black just needs to defend all of the pieces, and it's actually a draw. But unfortunately, probably black thought that it was just way too passive, under too much pressure. He played knight c5 here, going for like counterplay, but after takes, g6. Now the main problem is that g6, now black can't really do anything because the pawn is just like pushed way too high up the board, controlling too many important squares. And after knight e4 check, here king e7, rook a1, getting into the position, and it's just now unstoppable. And the game quickly ended after this, turning into a rook and pawn endgame. And after e6, here black resigned, because of course this is just a losing endgame. I mean, takes, there's rook a7, of course you lose the rook. And if you go like king e7, for example, there's rook a7. And if you go like king d8 back or king e8 back, there's all like king d6 ideas, and it's just winning, of course. So after e6 here, black resigned because it's just a dead lost position. This game was actually, well, it's played about like 13 years ago, a pretty old game. Not that old, but we just count that as an old game. Like, it's not recent. But this game is actually still like with high quality, basically. Both sides played pretty well. And I hope you guys learned something from this game, especially the opening, the French defense. Hope you guys learned some like techniques and rules that you have to follow, and you guys can also by analyzing these top grandmasters game, or grandmaster games, the openings, especially the openings, you can go dig in deeper to analyze the openings, because grandmasters, they have already played these lines, which means that these lines are playable, and you have to analyze them, dig deeper, and you'll learn something new. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this game and learned something from this game, and please subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!